350 miles can be no distance in a plane, or it can be from where you are to the end of the earth. Depends on so many things. If it is night, it depends on the depth of the darkness and the height of the clouds, the speed of the wind, the stars, the fullness of the moon. It depends on you, if you fly alone, not only on your ability to steer your course or to keep your altitude, but upon the things that live in your mind while you swing suspended between the earth and the silent sky. Some of those things take root and are with you long after the flight itself is a memory. But if your course was over any part of Africa, even the memory will remain strong. When, much later than Nungwe or Tripoli or Zanzibar, or any of the remote and sometimes outlandish places I have flown to, I crossed the North Atlantic, east to west, there were headlines, fanfare, and for me many sleepless nights. A generous American press found that flight spectacular, and what is spectacular is news, but to leave Nairobi and arrive at Nungwe is not spectacular. It is not news. It is only a little hop from here to there, and to one who does not know the plains of Africa, its swamps, its night sounds, and its night silences, such a flight is not only unspectacular, but perhaps tedious as well. Only not to me, for Africa was the breath and life of my childhood. There was Mandalay, our Mandalay, secretive and silent as it has always been, the grey stone shining in the moonlight of my dream, the mullioned windows reflecting the green lawns and the terrace. Time could not wreck the perfect symmetry of those walls, nor the site itself, a jewel in the hollow of a hand. The terrace sloped to the lawns, and the lawns stretched to the sea, and turning, I could see the sheet of silver placid under the moon, like a lake undisturbed by wind or storm. No waves would come to ruffle this dream water, and no bulk of cloud, wind-driven from the west, obscure the clarity of this pale sky. I turned again to the house, and though it stood inviolate, untouched, as though we ourselves had left but yesterday, I saw that the garden had obeyed the jungle law, even as the woods had done. The rhododendrons stood 50 feet high, twisted and entwined with bracken, and they had entered into alien marriage with a host of nameless shrubs, poor bastard things that clung about their roots as though conscious of their spurious origin. A lilac had mated with a copper beech, and to bind them yet more closely to one another, the malevolent ivy, always an enemy to grace, had thrown her tendrils about the pair and made them prisoners. Ivy held prior place in this lost garden. The long strands crept across the lawns and soon would encroach upon the house itself. There was another plant, too, some half-breed from the woods, whose seed had been scattered long ago beneath the trees, and then forgotten, and now marching in unison with the ivy, thrust its ugly form like a giant rhubarb towards the soft grass where the daffodils had blown. Wandering alone in the library, letting his broom tell him things no one else could hear, he had heard the whistle and the disjointed calliope hymns. 3, he now said half aloud, 3 in the morning. In the meadow, the tents, the carnival waited for someone, anyone, to wade along the grassy surf. The great tents filled like bellows. They softly issued forth exhalations of air that smelled like ancient yellow beasts. But only the moon looked in at the hollow dark, the deep caverns. Outside, night beasts hung in the mid-gallop on a carousel. Beyond lay fathoms of mirror maze, which housed a multifold series of empty vanities, one wave on another, still, serene, silvered with age, white with time. Any shadow at the entrance might stir reverberations the color of fright, unravel deep-buried moons. If a man stood here, would he see himself unfolded away 1,000,000,000 times to eternity? Would 1,000,000,000 images look back, each face and the face after, and the face after that old, older, oldest? Would he find himself lost in a fine dust away off deep down there, not 50, but 60, not 60, but 70, not 70, but 80, 90, 99 years old? The maze did not ask. The maze did not tell. June came in like a ship, blue sails unfurled and swelling. A good time for writing. Jay's book lengthened by another 50 pages, but even better for planting, picking out the new seedlings and setting them in their raked beds, thinning out potato plants and putting them in rows or weeding, stripping garlands of goosegrass and ground elder from the currant bushes, or picking strawberries and raspberries from their green hollows to make jam. The strawberries were abundant this year, 3 rows 50 meters long, enough to sell if he had a mind to. But Jay was uninterested in selling. Instead, he gave them away to his new friends, made jam, ate strawberries by the pound, sometimes straight from the field, with the pink soil still dusting the flesh. Far beneath the surface of the earth, hidden from the sun and the moon, upon the shores of the starless sea, there is a labyrinthine collection of tunnels and rooms filled with stories. Stories written in books and sealed in jars and painted on walls. Odes inscribed onto skin and pressed into rose petals. Tales laid in tiles upon the floors, bits of plot worn away by passing feet. Legends carved in crystal and hung from chandeliers. Stories catalogued and cared for and revered. Old stories preserved, while new stories spring up around them. The place is sprawling yet intimate. It is difficult to measure its breadth. Halls fold into rooms or galleries, and stairs twist downward or upward to alcoves or arcades. Everywhere there are doors leading to new spaces and new stories and new secrets to be discovered. And everywhere there are books.